Anxiety is basically impossible to discuss because everyone experiences it, but for some, it controls their lives. I remember in school people would claim that they're so anxious because they have a test that day, or so anxious about their report card. Meanwhile, I'm thinking to myself, I'm in a full-blown state of panic from the moment I wake up to the moment I go back to sleep. You gotta love how people claim, oh, mental health matters. Then you say how you feel, and they look at you like you belong in a psych ward. But to be fair, even I struggle understanding or relating to people when they talk to me about their anxiety. But what I'm about to tell y'all today is probably something I've only told to like 5 people in my life. The first thing I want to say is talking about your anxiety will help a lot, but maybe you're not ready for that. So let me discuss mine, and that could potentially help you. If you watched my previous video, Lost, then you heard about me selling weed when I was 16. At this age, I smoked a lot. Honestly, it was every day. I decided to quit cold turkey, and I remember for like 2 weeks straight after, I still felt high. I kinda always felt like I was walking on a cloud and all of my senses were heightened. Everything was too bright and noises were sharp. I thought it was just a crazy come down from smoking every day. But as months went by, it didn't change. Every day I woke up and I paid attention to this. I worried about it. I thought every day, am I normal? Is this gonna stop? I didn't even remember what feeling normal was like before this. I don't really know what all of this was, but I have a feeling it was the buildup of me recognizing that I have really bad anxiety. And this built up for months and months and months until right after I turned 17 and I had my first panic attack. Now, I don't want to trigger anyone and explain what this is like because it's pretty scary, but it basically feels like you're dying. Accelerated heart rate, panic, shortness of breath, tunnel vision, all that good stuff. I was riding shotgun in my friend's car when it happened. Nothing really sparked it. I wasn't particularly worried about anything or anxious about anything. Just all of a sudden I was freaking out and it felt like the walls were closing in on me. He asked me if I needed to go to the hospital. I could still remember how concerned and confused he looked, which didn't really help the fact that I felt like I was dying. I didn't even answer him, but somehow I managed to pull through. Once we got where we were going, I called my dad and I told him all about it, but he didn't seem to understand me at all, and I immediately realized how crazy I sounded. Seeing how people responded to this episode made me realize that I had to hide it from people. I couldn't tell anyone because they would treat me differently or think I'm a maniac. From here on out, I woke up every day thinking, I hope that doesn't happen again. And the biggest thing with anxiety is, the more you think about it and the more in your head you are, the more it'll affect you. That's why it's so hard to talk about, because the only way to get over anxiousness is literally to forget it and have your mind focused on something else. No exaggeration at all. For the next year and a half until high school graduation, I woke up thinking, am I crazy? Why do I feel like this? And I really hope I don't have an episode. But naturally, because I'm thinking that every day, it would happen. In school, at work, with friends, didn't matter where, didn't matter when. And nobody knew this. I wasn't telling anyone. I wasn't talking about it with anyone. I would be in full-blown panic in my brain, but still had a smile on my face like everything was okay. And I slowly started to learn how to manage them. As long as you recognize when they're happening, remember that it's all in your head. Just focus on your breathing, drink a bit of water, and you'll make it through. But you're probably wondering why I was feeling this way or how it even got to this point. And it took me a long time to figure it out because I never got professional help. When I was 16 through 19, I didn't want to know why I was feeling this way. I just wanted it to go away. And in my 20s, I started managing my stress better and understanding myself a lot more, and I eventually figured it out. All of this was stemming from pretty severe emotional trauma I was experiencing as a teenager. And as a creative and me trying to make this video, I'm disappointed that I won't be able to tell you what was going on because it would justify this whole video and it would make a lot of sense, but that stuff is just way too personal. It's things that I'll probably never tell anyone on the internet or not share on the internet because it's just, I don't know. Some stuff you just don't put online, you just don't say online. So I've come to terms with these things. I've accepted them and I've embraced them and I've moved on and I'm happy now, but I just don't want to share them with you guys. No offense. I remember trying to open up about my anxiety to one of my friends, and he literally said, I just can't relate to that at all. I respected his honesty, but that was the last time I would talk about my anxiety for years. Anyways, after high school and the beginning of college, a bunch of my friends downloaded FL Studio and started making music. I loved music, but I never ever considered making it, so I figured why not try? I felt the same way emotionally at the time, but let me tell you, when I started making music, it was like I had zero problems. I was so fascinated by this program, making sounds from scratch, playing melodies on my keyboard in which I had no idea what I was doing. Even just sifting through sample packs, hearing all the creative possibilities. It was my safe space. Nothing else in the world that was happening mattered but the sounds I was messing with. And the music I was making was god-awful in the beginning, but it made me happier than I ever felt. In hindsight, I realized music was more of an escape for me. I consider myself creative, and I think I have a great ear for music. But music creation acted more as a way for me to manage my stress and escape, more so than build a career. Because I know all of you are going to say, if you loved it, then why did you quit? Anyways, as I got more and more into music, I was able to keep my mind occupied. Instead of worrying about my stress or anxiety, I was thinking about production, song structures, melodies, sounds, etc. It's all I would think about. It clogged my mind, so there was no room for anything else. Music didn't solve all of my problems. That's not where the story ends. I eventually got into a relationship with someone. I was able to open up more and talk about the things that I was going through, and we had similar struggles, and I suppose that's why we connected. Finding someone I could really vent everything out to on a daily basis was like the best therapy ever. And if you can find someone that does that for you or that relates to you, keep them close and talk to them as much as possible. This is where I really started to get better. Just talking about it over and over again with someone that was understanding, then you really don't feel crazy anymore. Getting obsessed with something was my escape, and talking it out was the solution. You have to distract your mind and give it a rest. Fall in love with something, a hobby, an art, something that puts those positive, happy chemicals in your brain. Please don't resort to drugs, even if a doctor tells you that you need them. Also, the mental trauma that I was experiencing that I didn't tell you about, well, coming to terms with that, understanding it, and accepting it was key for me to get better. So whatever that thing is that's traumatizing you, accept it. Don't run from it. Today, I still have my moments, but I think they're more like normal people anxiety. So if I have a lot of work to do, or I'm just kind of nervous about something or whatever, I'll have some anxiety. Ultimately though, my anxiety pushed me to learn how to work really hard and how to get obsessed with something. I think that's why I have a successful career as a content creator. It pushed me to my limits, and now every day my mind is occupied with work and what I love, which is making videos, employing my best friends, rock climbing, not having any worries or just being anxious about nothing at all. You might have some very serious emotional trauma bottled up inside that's causing your anxiety, and you have to open up that bottle and let it out. Talk about that problem, that thing that's eating you up, in person, face to face with someone. I've never been to therapy, so I can't necessarily recommend it, but talking to someone you trust is therapy. Therapy that you don't have to pay for, which is kind of nice. It's really, really, really hard to open up at first. It sucks. In fact, it gets worse before it gets better. But after a few times, you'll realize it's the best decision you've ever made. You'll feel 1,000,000 pounds lift off your shoulders, and you can be free again.